Hey guys, surprise! I'm here at Annex Suspension, super excited. I am picking up my coilovers today. And I'm a new brand ambassador, which I can't wait to explain to you guys. But first, we're gonna take a little tour of the shop. Come along. Hey guys, so like I said, I'm at Annex Suspension. I'm here with Grant, he's the owner. Thank you so much for having me. It was so much fun. We got to walk around SEMA for like one full day with him and Brian, and it was just a blast. And so, always good making connections. We are gonna open up my coilovers. Check it out.
All right, so at the very top, you've got your spanner wrenches and also some hex wrenches so you can do your adjustments. And then below that, we've got the actual kit here.
Oh my gosh, you guys.
So if we pull back the goodie bag here.
Oh my gosh.
So one set of CSPs for your K-swapped Civic.
Yes, yes. Oh, I cannot wait to put these on. And obviously I'm gonna shoot a video with them, doing the install. I mean, you guys, these are beautiful. Like, I don't think I've ever seen such a beautiful set of coilovers before. Check this out.
Let's see if we can pull one out for you.
Yeah.
So I know you don't live super far away, so the foam might be a little excessive, but we do pack every order in foam like this just to make sure it gets, safely to the customer. But pull this guy out. So this would be a front CSP, and you've got your helpers here. You've got the Swifts that we picked. Actually, Mike chimed in on this too.
Yes.
So Mike and I came up with the spring rates for Rachel, and then we valved it to suit. 24 points of adjustment, and yeah, it should work really well.
Oh yeah, this is gonna work so perfect. I cannot wait to get them on the car. You guys know I'm gonna be working on this tomorrow and Sunday to get content out and get the car out on the track faster. So again, I appreciate this so much. Like,
That's our pleasure.
so cool. And again, I actually like the way you guys pack this with all the foam, because I've had so many parts arrive at my house, just like not utterly destroyed, but something's dented. I'm not gonna shout out any companies where, that it came, but there was a couple where I'm like, now I got to send it back, wait a couple of weeks. And so doing this is absolutely perfect.
I'm really glad that you appreciate it, because it's not just to protect it, it's also part of like the experience too. Like, because we spend like an incredible amount of time valving these and customizing the rates and understanding each client.
Yes.
And so we really want that to show through as soon as you open the box. So hopefully, hopefully that effect is there.
Oh yeah, it definitely comes through. Oh my gosh. Well, Grant, thank you so much again.
Welcome.
I can't wait to get these on the car and being a new ambassador for you guys, because I'm going to be shouting about all this from the rooftops. So
Sounds good.
yay. Okay, now I'm going to send it over to Grant, and he's going to give us a tour of the Annex Suspension Workshop.
So we are really R&D focused. So pretty much any of like the new applications that we do, we want to start by getting the data of the vehicle first. So in the case of Civic, we had one on the lift here. Before we would measure the motion ratios kind of mechanically, but now we're 3D scanning and then putting it into CAD and determining the motion ratios and also measuring the corner weights. But once we have that data and we know what damping targets or damping ratios we want to shoot for, we will take those targets and then we'll send it over to the valving lab, who will then handpick a variety of different shims to allow us to match the force of shock that we're trying to build, as well as like the shapes of the shocks. So each one of these there's probably 60 different SKUs on here, and each one is a different shim. So depending on if you grab a small piece like this, or maybe a larger shim like this, and you can also change the diameter and thickness, these parts will cover the piston, which controls the oil flow within the shock. And with a very precise combination of using these parts, we can actually change and manipulate the way the shock is going to behave, whether it's going to be stiff at low speeds, low shock speeds, or softer at low shock speeds, or if we want to build a lot of force at high speed in case the car is maybe jumping or hitting berms, quite often. Mm-hmm. So with that, we can really kind of fine tune it. And then our shock builder uses the shock assembly area. He will grab a whole bunch of parts and build the shocks into a complete unit, and then we'll put it onto our Rorig dyno to actually verify that the shock is building the force that we anticipate that it will. Once those shocks are dynoed, at the moment they're still going through me, and I'm actually verifying every single shock that's built that comes through the facility. But that way we can make sure that we're not only establishing what we want the client to have for their particular build, but we're also making sure that by the time it gets through production, it's also meeting that criteria too. And then when the shocks are done, they will get sent over to Kaz and his team, and he will take the raw shock components and turn them into completed units. You can see there's a build that's in process right now. This would be for a ZN8, I think it is. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah. And just like we're very careful about what we put into the shocks, Kaz and his team is extremely meticulous about how the coilers actually get built. And we have a whole process of QCing every single part that gets put on here, and QCing the final product as well before it ever goes out to get sent out to the customer.
Oh, that's awesome.
So guys, he was giving us the tour. I looked around the corner, saw something really, really rad. So let's have Grant explain it.
So what we saw is these are our new remote reservoirs. We did a small design change on here, but this does allow people with our club specs to upgrade to a double or a triple adjustable suspension system. And not only are you getting more adjustments from the adjustment knob up here, so you can fine tune your low speed or your high speed compression, which is important for comfort, but more importantly, just changing how the car's handling on track and also how it's responding to berms, or even if you have a little bit more aero. But there's also a lot more nitrogen capacity, which allows the suspension to dissipate heat better, as well as have a lot more compliance when hitting large impact events, such as like a berm or a large bump on track. And then we would connect these to the bottom of the shocks with these remote reservoir hoses. And they can also be equipped with some dry brakes, which allow you to quickly disconnect the shocks when you're servicing them or when you're working on the car. So yeah, if you get to the point where you need to go, even crazier, hit us up and we can upgrade you to the remotes.
It'll be another year or so, or sooner. Okay, guys, now it's time for the math portion. Take it away.
Okay, so at Annex, all of our coilovers are built to order, and we like to provide, spring rate consultations as an option, which allows us to get not just a appropriate spring rate for like the car, but an appropriate spring rate for the application, the driver, and like the use case. So
Nice.
I have your spring rate consultation open right now, and we'll ask a series of questions. It's kind of like a personality quiz.
Yeah.
Right? I'm using some math on the back end to kind of figure out what type of spring rate and the what we use are the spring frequencies.
Okay.
Are going to match your personal driving behavior, the road conditions the car's going to be driven on, and it will spit out a number. So in your case, we get like a 2.34 hertz. It's a track car, so it makes perfect sense that the frequency is going to be fairly high. We would consider that like in the slicks, high 200 treadwear grip tires, a car that's intended to be track driven most of the time, but can still be driven on the street a little bit. It'll definitely be something you don't want to commute in. Mm-hmm. So, and then over here we have your different spring rate options, the frequencies that they end up with, and all the so different spring options we have. We can do our own classic springs. We can do Swift springs in both their metric and their standard. And then Hypercoil is another brand spring that we can spec with. So your kid's getting Swift springs. Mm-hmm. So in this case, we went with the 14.6 was originally what we talked about. And then Mike hit us up and said, hey, I want you guys to prove to me why 14.6 is the right application, because traditionally with Hondas, they put these really stiff springs on the rear. Mm-hmm. And what we found is by overspringing the rear, the car becomes unstable. And so our philosophy with the Hondas is let's give you a stable car, and then the handling dynamics and balance can be tuned with sway bars rather than the spring rates. So if you want a car to have a track balance out of the box with no adjustment to spring rates and stuff, you're going to put a very heavy spring on the rear. And so because we're saying, hey, Honda people, just use a big rear sway bar with our kits, and you'll be able to get the handling balance, and it'll be a more stable ride. We had to prove that to Mike.
Yeah.
So I built this tool over here for internal use. It's kind of an idealized, what we call flat ride calculator. So it's very basic. It's taking in wheelbase, speed, frequencies, and then basically calculating what the springs are doing over a 1-inch bump at any given speed. So we can see this is for 75. If I switch this to 100, boom, it gives us almost a perfect flat ride. This car, the blue line's your front axle, red line's the rear axle. They'll hit at different times, and then they sync up here. And so we kind of optimize you between 75 and 100 miles an hour for a flat ride. And that's going to lead to a really stable car mid corners. So, and then, yeah, just throughout, just feedback and talking to other professionals, we'll develop tools and we'll, make changes and, try to get the exact suspension you need rather than just what we build out of box.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Cool. Any questions?
Not so far. Can't wait to get him on the car.
Nice.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah.